Good morning, everybody. We'll call to order our October 1st, 2019 regular meeting of the Mason County Board of Commissioners. We begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Ken Van Buskirk, please lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to item number 3, roll call. If the clerk will please take roll.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
I'm here.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Item 4.1, if the clerk would please report the correspondence.
Chauffeurs, Teamsters, and Helpers Union Local Number 252 sent in notice of contract opening for Mason County Community and Family Health. Beverly Pittman sent in a letter concerning the Belfair area. David Daly submitted an application for the Mason County Historic Preservation Commission. And Western Conference of Teamsters Pension Trust sent in a labor agreement.
Okay, very good, thank you. Moving on to item number 5, this is our open forum for citizen input. It's an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on items that are not on today's agenda. If you'd like to make comment, please raise your hand. The chair will recognize you. Come forward, state your name, and make your comments. We have about a 3-minute per person time limit, so try to be mindful of that as you make comments. Sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for your service to our county. My name is Oliver Chapman. I live on Hartstein Island. I was born here in Shelton. I'm here to talk to you about a good government and a minor public safety topic. Over the decades of driving our county's roads, the most aggressive drivers I've regularly observed have been driving marked Mason County Sheriff's Patrol vehicles. And now, just to be clear, I'm not referring to the rare times I see them responding to emergencies with their emergency lights operating. I'm referring to their routine driving on patrol or otherwise traveling through the county. Since October of 2016, I've written 6 letters, 2, and I've had 4 conversations with the sheriff and his commanders on this topic. During a conversation with Chief Deputy Sperling about 21 months ago, Chief Sperling acknowledged the problem and asked me to continue to report my observations to him. So I've conducted about 3 dozen observation sessions where I park on the streets near the sheriff's Shelton station. From this, it's clear that the problem is much worse than I originally thought. For example, station traffic rarely uses their turn signals, literally never properly stop at stop signs, and occasionally drive extended distance in opposing lanes. They also regularly jaywalk right in front of the station. They commit traffic infractions at a rate about 4 times higher than the general public, and about 80% of the traffic commit at least one traffic infraction near the station. From my conversations with the sheriff and his commanders, it is clear that they're well aware that their staff commit a high volume of traffic infractions during routine driving, yet they view the problem as not important enough to address properly. Certainly, for nearly 3 years since I've contacted them, they have been astoundingly ineffective at correcting this problem, which at worst is petty misconduct. Of course, you commissioners and us citizens have a limited ability to influence the sheriff since he is independently elected. However, you commissioners do have the authority to set the sheriff's budget. As you consider the sheriff's budget for next year, I ask that you consider a 10% reduction to whatever your baseline sheriff's budget is, and enter a specific line item labeled Deputy Aggressive Driving Budget Reduction. If we see compelling evidence of an improvement, the cut could be reversed in the future. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this topic this morning. I'm happy to discuss the topic further with you at any time, and I invite any questions you have. Now, if I may close with a comment unrelated to this topic. I've seen the Mason Web TV's coverage of these meetings, and I noticed that the camera that provides the view of the speaker includes the sign "In God We Trust" right behind the speaker's head. I'm happy that I'm blessed that that's in the field of view here, and I can assure you I do trust in God. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm here representing our Shelton Centennial Lions Club and just want to share a little bit about what we're doing. We are raising money for the YMCA. Our Apple Drive is coming up, and we have the biggest project we're working on right now is called Hoops for Our Community, and that is going to be placed on the paved parking lot across from the Baptist Church, across from the Civic Center. We're raising money to put hoops down there for our community. We have got our money raised, and we're looking for more money for a cushion, and we're hoping that maybe whoever's in this room or some people in the county would pitch in and donate some more money. It's a great program. It started when, it started on our visioning program that we had several years ago, and that was one of the visions that we had for downtown, and that kind of just, nobody had any money. So one day, we decided to take our basketball hoop down at our house because it was old and we were afraid somebody might get hurt. We had tons of kids from the neighborhood and adults come and play basketball all the time. So I thought, great, let's get some basketball hoops down at the end of the newly paved, hopefully soon paved parking lot across from the Baptist Church and the Civic Center, and just have it open 24 hours a day and people can play in the middle of the night if they want. So I discussed it with our Lions Club, and it was a go, and we put it forward. I put it on Facebook for fundraising, and it just took off, and the community's excited about it, and we're hoping it'll be pretty soon, as soon as the pavement's done and all the stuff that has to do with the parking lot is finished. So anyway, just give a heads up to everybody that that's one of our big projects that we're working on as a Lions Club, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? Ken?
Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to, Ken Van Buskirk from Belfair, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I attended the TIP cap briefing yesterday on the draft 6-year TIP. I attended the last 2 meetings of the TIP cap along with the briefing that you had jointly with them. And at those 2 meetings of the TIP, I was the only member of the public there. I made some suggestions and on both priority and projects. Some were adopted, some were not. At that joint meeting between yourselves and the TIP cap, there was quite the discussion about the priority array process. I've done some research and they are not using a priority array process. And for that reason, I'm going to attend the final meeting before you folks, and I'm going to offer the same suggestions to priority that I made to them, and hopefully you'll consider them and take them into account. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Is this public comment on anything?
Anything not on the agenda?
And, okay, not on.
Yeah, so if you're here for the PBRS hearing, there'll be a separate
Okay.
public period comment for that. Okay, any other public comment? Commission, would it be more appropriate for the undersheriff to speak under section 9?
That's a department head?
Yeah.
Is it,
It's entirely up to you.
does it have to?
Response to Mr. Chairman.
Oh, it's a response. I don't know, that's a,
And
well,
would
if it's
there
in
be
response,
would there be an objection to the undersheriff speaking?
no, go ahead.
No.
I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay.
I don't want to get in the habit of that, but,
Oh, I'm happy to wait if you like.
No, but
Either
it-
way is fine with me.
no.
I'm Travis Adams. I'm the undersheriff at the Mason County Sheriff's Office. Since Mr. Chapman brought up this issue in front of the commission and he is requesting that it impact our budget, I feel compelled that I should probably speak to this issue. As you know, Mason County Sheriff's Office is one of only 7 fully accredited sheriff's offices in Washington State. Recently, we just went through our reaccreditation process just a few weeks ago. And the reason why that is relevant is because part of our accreditation process is a requirement in those standards that we fully review and accept every complaint that comes into our office, that we review those complaints for the nature of the complaint, the severity, and the impact on operations, and that we respond to those accordingly. I can tell you that we have received correspondence from Mr. Chapman over the last couple of years. We have acknowledged every one of those as a complaint that has come in. as well as his confronting our employees at the gas pumps and confronting our employees in the parking lot, confronting the sheriff when he's off duty in his civilian clothes at the supermarket, getting his groceries to go home and make dinner, talking to our supervisors at public meetings. Every single one of these we have accepted as a complaint. We have reviewed what his concerns are, and we have taken action that we feel is appropriate based on the severity of the situation that he's complained to us about. I can tell you that recently we took the extra step of providing him a meeting with our chief deputy of nearly 3 hours, which is far above and beyond what we normally provide on a low-level complaint such as his. And the unfortunate reality in this situation is I do not believe that we are going to have any resolution of this complaint to a degree that it's going to satisfy Mr. Chapman. So I'm sorry that we can't reach that resolution. However, unless there's any more egregious issues that he wants to bring forward, we consider this matter to be closed. But I wanted to, since he brought it up before the commission, to just say we have dealt with it in accordance with what our policies and procedures are, and it's under the purview of the independently elected official, and that's where we intend to leave it.
Commissioner.
Just because this is an interaction between departments instead, have you sent somebody out to the corner to watch and see if this is happening outside your
We have taken numerous steps to address the issues that he has brought up. We have sent out information to our staff, and we have taken the steps that we feel are appropriate based on the severity of the complaint. All right, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6, adoption of today's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda for October 1st, 2019.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda for October 1st, 2019. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Moving on to approval of minutes. We have minutes from September 16th, 2019's briefing.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the September 16th, 2019 briefing minutes as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the September 16th, 2019 briefing minutes as presented. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Item number 8, approval of today's action agenda. Commissioners will read through the items on today's action agenda, at which time a commissioner or a member of the public may ask to have an item removed for a separate discussion and vote. Commissioner Netherland, if you'd please take item 8.1 and 2, Commissioner Trask 8.3 and 4, and I will take 8.5 and 6.
Mr. Chair, item number 8.1, approval of a contract with CTG Security Electronics for maintenance on the electronics including intercoms, closed-circuit television system, LAN communication devices, and door locks at the jail. Item number 8.2, approval to call for a request for proposals, RFP, for county fleet leasing and maintenance services. Proposals must be received by 5 p.m. on October 22nd, 2019.
Item 8.3, approval of warrants and treasury electronic remittances. Direct deposit fund warrants number 62229, 626, or through 62624 in the amount of $716,428.68. Salary clearing fund warrants number 7004703 through 7004729 in the amount of $502,210.95. Approval to set a hearing on October 22nd, 2019 at 6:15 p.m. to consider amendments to Title 16.
Item 8.5, approval of contract number K3929 between Mason County Health and Washington State Healthcare Authority to support work in the community on substance abuse and marijuana use and prevention. Item 8.6, approval of a private line occupancy permit granting permission to run utility lines under and across North Shore Road for parcel 32224-50-00026 10811 North Shore Road. Commissioners, having read through the items on today's action agenda, are there any items you'd like to have removed for a separate discussion and vote?
No.
Okay. Are there any members of the public that would like to have an item removed for a separate discussion and vote? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve today's action agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the action agenda as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve today's action agenda as presented. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, and the motion carries. Moving on to item number 9, other business, an opportunity for department heads and elected officials to address the commission. Any wishing to do so? Mr. Sheriff?
I'm back. Thank you. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for signing the contract on the jail issue. It's been a matter of a safety concern for our jail staff over there, and I think a regular maintenance schedule, making sure that all the closed cameras work and all the door locks and mechanisms work so that they don't have to manipulate things by keys and can get through the facility quickly and safely, is a big deal to our staff over there. So I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to deliberate about that the other day and take that action.
We've come a long way. 4 years ago, you had to actually hand check every door when everything failed. It was pretty rough.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other department heads or elected officials?
Nope, got one back over here.
I used to turn in my head that far.
It's like Dave Wyndham, Mason County Community Services. I just want to let everyone know that we have hired a fire marshal. It's from the Belfair area. It's Mike Six, who is coming to work for us 1 day a week as our fire marshal. He's a fully accredited fire marshal for Bremerton, works 4 days a week. He's going to work a 5th day for us. So he's also a fully accredited building official. So it's really going to add to our capacity at the building department.
Great news. Any other department heads or elected officials? Loretta? Nothing? No. Okay.
Not this morning.
All right. Fair enough. Moving on to item number 10, 10.1, public hearing to consider adoption of a public benefit rating system, PBRS, in place of the current open space program. This hearing is continued from July 16, 2019, and I ask staff to come forward and brief.
Morning, Kel Rowan with Mason County Planning Department. So, I'm going to give a little background for those who aren't fully aware, but in 1970, the state adopted the Open Space Taxation Act, which had 3 different programs. There was the designated forest lands, ag and farmlands, and open space. Today, we're just talking about the open space program and the opportunity that counties have to adopt a public benefit rating system instead of the open space program. About half the counties in the state have a PBRS system, and half keep the open space. It was brought up several years ago about the county looking into a public benefit rating system, I think in 2006, and then that died somehow. I'm not sure what happened there. And then it was re-brought up a few years ago, and I'm the 3rd planning manager to sort of take this on. So I didn't start with it, but I've learned a lot about the assessor's office, how properties are assessed tax-wise, the difference between taxing of current use and taxing for highest and best use. And so the open space program or public benefit rating system for properties that qualify under either program, they are taxed at the current use rate rather than the highest and best use. So initially, prior to Patty McLean, our new assessor, as of earlier this year, the planning department was tasked with the role of looking into a public benefit rating system and adopting that instead of the open space. And we did work a little bit with the assessors, but once Patty came on, we had a lot better interaction and a better understanding, and she stepped up in her office to say, hey, let's audit some, let's take a sample audit of those that are currently in the open space program, and then I would take the draft public benefit rating system that we looked at last December and compare the two and see how far off are we, what are the differences, is this a program that's broken, what have you. So we did that, and that's why we kept kind of delaying. We apologize for the delay, but I think it was an effort that was really well really well worth the effort and the delay and the ability to look at that rather than just converting without fully understanding the current program and what we would transition to. So I appreciate Patty and Vicki and everyone else in the assessor's office for stepping up to do that. So after the sample audits were done, and I took and rated them through the public benefit rating system, generally they're about the same. There were a couple things, two properties out of the 39 that we looked at didn't qualify under either program, in my opinion. But that's, you know, that's something that we may or may not take forward to the commission in the future on, you know, do we want to keep these in the program? But that's I think a real exception to the program, the properties in the program overall. There were 5 parcels that had a higher tax reduction under the public benefit rating system than in the open space. And then there were 6 properties that didn't get enough points on their public benefit rating system, but I felt personally that they qualify as open space. They were undeveloped, they were kept in native vegetation, and it seemed like if they were in the program that they should be taxed at the current use rather than the highest and best use, in order to prevent folks from developing a parcel that otherwise could be left with native vegetation and saving our rural character. So after some discussion with Patty and Vicki and just kind of how the open space applications come in and evaluating, we've agreed that we jointly recommend that the Board of County Commissioners keep the open space program, do not adopt a public benefit rating system, and that moving forward the planning department would work in collaboration with the assessor's office and with the Board of County Commissioners on evaluating new properties on whether or not they should be brought into the open space program. And I just think that that is a good way to move forward, and that we can feel confident that we've really evaluated this and the public benefit rating system doesn't bring us any added benefits. It's just kind of it would be a lot of added work for a program that's not broken. The open space program is not broken, and so that's our joint recommendation, is to keep the open space program.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Hearing none. Any questions for staff from the public?
I have a question. You had mentioned about 13 properties that you were reevaluating and talking about.
39.
39.
Yeah.
Okay. Have those property owners been notified?
Yes, yes. A letter was sent out in July from the assessor's office indicating that they would, voluntarily auditing. And so the assessors heard back from folks and then made appointments and did some on-site visits.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we haven't been notified, then there's no...
Right. If you did not get a letter in the mail, then you were not part of the program or part of the audit.
Yes, I did receive a letter here saying you were going to talk about it.
Yeah, and everyone in the program got the letter about was it July 16th meeting,
Right.
and then this one, but not everyone got the audit letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Tom,
Thank
and
you.
then
Yeah, I can help.
Hi.
So you made a determination, or your department made a determination after auditing 39 properties out of 330,
Is it about, yeah, about, yep.
that the system was not broken. Out of the 39, how many volunteered for the audit?
22.
Okay, so 20 people called up and said, audit me, and you audited those 20 people. So
The assessor's office
The
did.
assessor's office
Yeah.
did. So 19 people did not ask to be audited.
Right, but she visited some,
Okay, so some were visited that were sent the letter?
yes, that
Okay.
didn't respond.
Right, and there were 39 properties, so there was a single property owner may have had multiple parcels in the program.
And you participated in the audit.
I participated one day with Patty in the field, and then I once the assessor's office completed the audit, then I took those and compared them against the public benefit rating system.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have sort of two questions. One is, how much money is involved in the loss to the county or the savings to the property owners? Total. Do you have any idea?
So of the 39, there was a difference of the open space program on average, because it varied a little bit. On average, there was an 80% tax reduction. And under the public benefit rating system, there was a 70% tax reduction
So how,
on average.
80 total money-wise?
There was, I think, now this isn't taxes, because this is the value, you know, say your property's valued at $100,000, you don't pay $100,000 in taxes, you pay a percentage, 1,000. You know, and it's based on your tax, where you're located in the county, because of course you have school taxes and different levies, and so every single district is a little bit different. But say you have a 2% or an average of 1.7% on valuation. So the only numbers I looked at were the overall, say, $4 million in tax assessment.
So that would be what, 1.7% of 4 million, is what you're saying, on the 39 properties?
So land value was 4.3 million.
On the 39 properties?
On 39 properties. And in open space, under the open space, it was 848,000, and under PBRS, it was 1.4 million. So so the 848,000 is an 80% tax reduction of the 4.3 million. And the 1.4 million under PBRS is a 70% tax reduction of the 4.3.
Okay, and then through this whole process, approximately how many man-hours were involved in assessing this and evaluating it?
There was no grant monies or anything to charge, so we're not required to track our time unless there was a grant money.
You got any idea?
Not off the top of my head. I could probably come back with that. But I'd have to kind of look at my calendar or see. But
I'd appreciate that information if you could.
Maybe 20 hours. I spent one day in the field with
That's
Patty.
for you,
That
but
was
not
about
the other
6
people that are
hours.
involved. That's for yourself only.
I could only speak for myself because I can't. There's no way I could speak for somebody
So
else.
the assessor would have
Yes.
that other information available?
Correct.
Okay. Those are just some questions I have for trying to fix something that isn't broken, but I understand the aspect of, okay, we have a situation here, the county feels that we need to do this, so they put that together, and then we go from there, so.
Any
And
other?
I hope we don't adopt.
You can save that for a public comment. We're still in questions. Any other questions for staff? Okay, hearing no other
I have one, sorry.
Sure.
For interrupting you, Mr. Shetty. Carol, is there any ordinance for the county to officially audit the properties that are, rather than volunteer? And I know the board has discussed a long time ago about an enforcement officer on violation of county ordinances. But I'm wondering, because you found how many that were not in the...
2.
2 out of the 39 that were not in compliance.
In my personal opinion, but it is a program of the Board of County Commissioners, so that would be their ultimate
Right,
call
yes,
on what, it would be my recommendation
That they-
if those were new applications.
Right, exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So, I guess what I'm asking is, why isn't the county assessing these open, and I'm part of the open space, believe me, and I have no problem at all with the county as long as they give me notification coming out and looking at it.
I can maybe just speak to that just briefly. So this was part of the conversation that we had a week or two ago when this was brought back to the commission, was talking about that obvious next step of, what do we do about enforcement and making sure that people are compliant beyond. Say this as kind of responsibly as possible. I think we have a willingness in the assessor's office to do that component of it that we may not have had before. And so the reality is people are only going to be as compliant as you are willing to be as you know,
And that was a
provide oversight.
discussion under
Yeah.
your work session, I
Yeah,
believe.
and so I think, and I'll just kind of speak for myself, and the other commissioners might address this later as well, but I think we wanted to get through this component first, because if we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, then why would we talk about how to enforce the open space program?
Okay.
So, but I think there's an opportunity for us to, once we get through this part of it, to then address the work that needs to happen between the assessor's office and the commission on making sure people are compliant in the program.
Okay, thank you.
And basically, up until now, that assessment or auditing of it was not available to us. It was with the new assessor that changed. The departments are the ones, they're the ones that actually do the assessment on those anyway, but when she came in, she volunteered to do that and to look at that. Up until that, we didn't have that as an option. But that's not why all this came about, I'm just saying.
Might be a happy accident.
Yeah.
So. Any other questions before we move into public comment? Yes.
Were the two properties that you felt?
That was yours and, no, I'm kidding.
That was good, Kel.
I don't know. No, because it's not for me to say whether they're in the program or not. It would be, if that application were to come in today, I would recommend, you know, I'd work with Patty and I would likely recommend, I don't think this meets the intent of the open space program. So that's for the commissioners to decide.
It's very rare. It has happened, I believe, in the past, but it's been very rare in the time that I've been here, so a little bit over 2.5 years, where we've made some changes to the amount of acreage or whatever that had been in a particular parcel. We have, I believe, removed, maybe not fully from the program, but partially. So, but I think where we're headed with this is we might have more of an opportunity to look a little bit deeper at it. So
Usually when they wanted to sell or something like that, that's when it would come to us.
okay, any other questions before we move into public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move into public comment. Again, if you'd like to make comment on item 10.1, raise your hand. The chair will recognize you. Come forward to the podium, state your name and where you live and make your comments.
My name is Terry Hogan. I live on Harstein Island, 71 East Point Wilson Road. And I'm very pleased to hear that the recommendation would be for leaving the open space involved. If, for some reason, you guys do not vote to leave the open space as is, should you decide to repeal the current open space property designation and replace it with something new, our expectation is that the repeal will be followed by replacement, and in that interim, we will incur no fees, no penalties, no back taxes, no interest for our ending of the current designation. And no penalties should we decide not to apply for the future new program. We would like your decision to reflect this neutral understanding, no penalties paid to the property owner and none paid to the county by the property owner. That's all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment? Tom?
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Davis. I'm not in the open space program. I do have a total of 18 acres. Some I raise timber on, some I raise sheep on. I believe we should all pay our taxes. I don't like to pay any other person's other taxes. I believe in paying my own taxes in full, and I'm not looking for any loopholes in that. We're a county of 82% of our county mass, about 500,000 acres, is forested. We need more open space like the ocean needs water. We have, the way it used to be, and is that Phil Franklin used to be the person in the assessor's office. I don't know if he's still there. I don't think so. And he used to come down and make the recommendations for open space. Back in 2012, when I started looking at open space, and I asked him this question around 2014. I said, has anybody ever refused an open space designation? He says they pay their $250, they meet their minimum requirements, and they get it. And so he always usually came to the county with a list, and on that list
everybody was always approved to be in the open space program, except one person who refused to pay the $250. So at that time, all you needed to do, by his own admission, was to pay the $250, meet the minimum requirements, and you were in the program. I think a lot of things have changed since the driver of this program, former Commissioner Terry Drexler, introduced it. We had a lot of support for this or there was support. There was at least a quorum of support for this PBRS. And then when she left, everything seemed to change. So what a difference an election cycle makes. I'd like to refer you to the Mason County Community Services, of which I believe Kel Rowan is part of. This is their report. This is your report. This is a report that was given to why we need a PBRS. This is not my words. It says the current process for evaluating open space in Mason County consists only of determining whether a parcel of land meets the minimum qualifications of the program, and if so, provides the same amount of tax relief to all qualifying parcels, regardless of the quality or quantity of benefits being provided to the public. A PBRS provides a way of extending tax relief that is representative of the corresponding benefits the land provides. And it goes on to say that there is really no relevance to the actual value to the community and the value and the tax reduction received by the people in the open space program. And in some cases, it says, actually in many cases it says, is providing a severely overinflated discount for land that the public is receiving minimal benefit from. Now, that's one assessment by the department that is now, at this time, supporting staying with the existing program. They also state, currently about 75% of the acreage, or about 1,900 acres, receiving open space tax relief in Mason County is private residential property, and over half of this land is built out with existing homes. Here's my feeling, this is my personal point. If you have a house and it's on 20 acres, that's your front yard. I don't want to pay for your taxes. Now you bought that with the intention you should consider yourself blessed and lucky to be able to walk around on 20 acres or 5 acres or 10 acres or what it is. If your parcel is completely unimproved without a house, then maybe you should be eligible for the open space program. In other words, if you have vacant land, unimproved, that should be the minimum requirement for open space. There should be some extraordinary circumstances for you to receive an 80% tax reduction, because I don't want to pay for your taxes. I think that's reasonable. Like I said, there are several programs I could apply for. I don't apply for any of those. Every year we have a budget crunch here, and every year we talk about people living up to their responsibility. Commissioner Netherland, you pointed your finger out here last year and said, that person next to you shouldn't have to pay your taxes. That was your position, a very firm position at that time. You have completely seems to have changed your position. It's this, we're approaching this as if it were a political problem. And if you approach it as a political problem, you will never have a real resolution that is fair and equitable. So that's basically where I'd like to leave it. I pay my taxes. I don't want to pay your taxes. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I think if you have extraordinary circumstances where there is mutual or greater benefit to the public for your land having a deep discount, then I'm all for it. But taking a sampling of 39 counties and 20 of them volunteered to be audited, you know, just follow me when I'm going 35 miles an hour. You will never catch me speeding. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Nikki Zimro, Cloqualam Road, 15620 Cloqualam Road. First of all, I want to thank all the commissioners that returned my phone calls. Excuse me, and including Patty McLean, who also took the time to return my phone call. I'm a big supporter of leaving the open space as it is. It seems to have, even though there's many man hours that have been put into this, it seems to be to the best benefit of the county at this time. And why bring on a program that's going to just create more work for people and maybe misunderstandings? The people that are in open space predominantly seem to be happy with it. And if there are those that can't get into open space for some reason, they have an option of going to the assessor's office, who has been very open and very straightforward with us. I think she should be commended for her position with the public and the commissioners at this time, that she's been so willing to step forward and take on this. And I hope you guys will stay with the open space. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Last time, any public comment on 10.1? Okay, hearing none, we'll close public comment on item 10.1 and move to commissioner deliberation for a motion. Commissioner.
So I want to address some of the things that we're talking about. I want to point out, first of all, there is no savings or gaining of taxes. The way it works is there's a balloon, and let's say the balloon has $100 in it. Everybody in the county has to share that $100 amount. That's how it works. So the question becomes, do you have to pay $2 and you pay 50 cents? Or do you pay $2 for the value of your home? So the county, because I've had calls, people say, county's just trying to make money. It doesn't change how much money comes in. It just changes how much you pay for your home taxes. But if you pay less for your home taxes, somebody else has to pay more, as you just heard. That's the way this works. When Commissioner Drexler brought this forward, there were many issues and questions that were coming on. The whole idea, because I was here at that time, and I want to point out, I didn't wag my finger yelling at somebody. It was a response to a question, and this was the same answer I'm giving now. It's just not that simple. Nobody's making more money. Somebody has to pay whatever share you don't. With that being said, though, what Commissioner Drexler, that I remember her trying to do, was trying to find a way to bring more benefit. If you're going to pay less taxes, to bring more benefit to the people that were going to pay more. So one of the things was to look at opening things up for public use, and to allow people, the more they wanted to give back to the community, the lower their taxes could be. Now, I think that was an admirable thought on her part. Now, here came the problems. Since all that stuff happened, I myself, where I got lost on this program was the fact that there was a bar that if you reached a certain amount of points, you could get discounts. The bar got lowered so much that we'd be nickel and dime to death, and we'd have so many different employees running around trying to see if this works, that doesn't work, that it just wasn't feasible. It just wasn't, especially at that level. Another thing happened. Back in the back, we have Ms. Iddings back here. I have a realtor's license. I'm a realtor. And I've never seen anything like what's happening right now. In the state of Washington, the state takes property by eminent domain when they need to use it. For the first time ever, they are now trying to go after people's property and take it through adverse possession. Imagine, in order to be adverse possession, the law says it must be open and notorious. So otherwise, you go through somebody's yard and you want to get an easement, you basically say, hey, I'm taking it. You try to block it, I'm taking it. You do that for a certain length of time, you get it. That's just the way it works. Same with property. Now imagine the state saying, well, because the people went and used it and you let them, now we can take your property. That is the scariest thing I ever heard in my life. So with that, there's no way I can empower that. Now, they may lose that case. I hope they lose that case. But that case is in court right now, and they are fighting it. DNR is trying to make that happen. Now, this program, again, it is not perfect. It is what we have. It was established well before the time I ever came here. I have no issue with us moving forward on it all. And if I didn't call you back, I apologize. I actually had surgery the day you called. Okay. Well, I was loopy then. I apologize. So with that being said, I want you to know, though, that the whole ground shifted after all this stuff was discussed. And then came the question of, we had so many others, was it failing? Well, we had no way of knowing whether it was failing or not because we didn't have somebody that was going out and checking it. Being duly elected officials in different departments, we have say over certain things like budget. We don't have say over whether or not the assessor's office is going to go out there. That's a gift that came, and it actually caught me off guard because we weren't used to that. Here comes somebody newly elected and she comes like, we can do that. I was like, what? We can do that. And they did. Now, we're going to continue to look at different things, not to as much to change it, to make sure that it is done in the proper manner as was designed by law. And there are people that have taken advantage of it. There really, really are. And I know of one particular place that is a big, beautiful farm, horse pasture, the whole 9 yards, that's in open space. And, literally they're using every inch of that property. It's all for them. To give them a discount and somebody else pay the taxes on their property may not be exactly right. And so we need to continue to look at that. But I myself, I'm hoping that there will be no motion today because there should, if we're not going to pass something, then the other action would be that there's no motion to second to make a change to happen. It just dies from lack of a motion. But I want to thank Patty for your work, and I want to thank you for your work and everything you guys did to get here. I want to thank everybody for having the patience to let us go through the process that we've had to go through. And I hope you understand our job is to look at things and to change our minds. That is our job. If we don't, then we'll never find when it's broken or we'll never be able to make it better. So I appreciate everybody's time for coming out today. I will not be making a motion.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioner deliberation?
I do want to say something. So I came in, I had heard about the open space before I was elected and did a little research with some of the resources that I had. And I felt that it wasn't broken. And so why fix something that's not broken? We have an amazing new assessor. She's very responsible and willing to do her job, do something that she was elected into. And I truly appreciate her help. And Kel and Vicki, you guys have been great educators for me, and I do appreciate that, and I appreciate your honesty and willingness to work on this.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll just make a couple of comments, and I'll try to keep them brief. We've been deliberating this for 32 months, so maybe you'll indulge a couple more minutes of conversation on it as we wrap this up. But just a word of thanks to Patty McClan, our assessor, and Vicki from her office, as well as Cal Brown and planning. I think one of the things that I had said about this proposal for quite some time now is that it was a solution in search of a problem. We were very happy to hear that we were going to be able to audit the current open space program, because one of the reasons that was given for evaluating moving to a PBRS was because there was the potential for fraud and abuse within the open space program. I'm not sure if 39 audited parcels makes it statistically significant enough, if it's maybe a higher number that would be required. I don't think this is the end of the story on evaluating the parcels that are currently in open space. So if any of you are out here and you have concerns about whether or not you're upholding your side of the bargain on the open space program, this isn't the end of that conversation. I think we're going to have an opportunity to continue to dig into it with the assessor's office, and that's a part of ensuring the public trust. We made an agreement with parcel owners. They made an agreement with the county and their neighbors that they would do this the right way, and if they're not, then there should be consequences for that. And I think we're committed to going down that path. But as the world stands now, I don't believe that moving to the public benefit rating system is the right move for the county. One of the other issues that we discussed at length during this was how we would treat the people that we currently have in the open space program and how we would treat them if we moved to a PBRS. And there really wasn't a good option for grandfathering people that we had already made a deal with. And I think it's important for us to uphold our side of that and make sure that we're not going back on our commitment to people that entered into the program and that did pay fees and that kind of thing. So there was no clarity around grandfathering. There was no clear evidence of fraud or abuse within the program that we've seen thus far. And so with that, I also will not be making a motion to move to the PBRS. I believe that we should stick with the open space program as it is, continue to evaluate it, continue to do the auditing that's necessary of the parcels that are in it, and go about it that way. So appreciate everybody's patience as we went through this. This is, believe it or not, I think an example of good government collaboration between different offices in order to get a look at a program that I think had a lot of suspicion about it up until today. So, thank you.
Would you like a motion to close without a motion, or are you just good with hammering it down for lack of, ask if there's a motion?
Is there a motion on item 10.1? Hearing none, we will close item 10.1 with no action. Moving on to item number 11, I encourage all of you to stay for our board reports and calendars. No obligation to, just you never know what we're up to. So we'll go through our board reports and calendars. Commissioner Netherland, if you kick us off, Commissioner Trask, and then I'll finish up.
Okay, Lakeland Village Community Club had a meeting. North Mason Resources, I met with them on the veteran stuff, briefings. Left Board coming up this next week. We have a special meeting at MTA where we'll all be together. I don't know who this Kelsey Willing is, and I don't know if it showed up on your phone, but it showed up on my phone. It says in regards to the virus, and I don't know what it is. Again, the way it works at the county, sometimes things show up on your phone and nobody asks you. And so I'll have to figure out what that is. We have a joint meeting with the commissioners for Grace Harbor County. I have a regular YRA 15 meeting. I have a Allen Community Association meeting, briefings, and a Port Allen meeting. That brings us back to start all over again.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Trask.
All right. Today is Tuesday. So I'll be at the Mason Transit Authority bid approval meeting this afternoon. And then also I do have a constituent coming in for an appointment. Wednesday we have the joint meeting with Grace Harbor Commission for the Criminal Justice Study here. A ribbon cutting for the Shang Sports Bar. Going out to Alderbrook for dinner. Thursday is Turning Point Day. Friday I will be taking a tour of the Skokomish Valley to look at the improvements that they've made out there, and it's going to be a good experience, I think. This weekend is also Oyster Fest, so don't forget, I'll be working most of it Saturday and Sunday, and then we're back on Monday for county briefings. Do we have elected meetings? No. And that'll be it.
Perfect. So one item from last week, again, wrapped up our public hearings on the State Building Code Council for 2018 code changes that are still being considered. Not a whole lot of comment on the International Building Code, a lot of comment on the Washington State Energy Code that I think should be concerning for folks. In general, the 2015 Energy Code added about $5,000 to the cost of a new home in Washington. The 2018 code will increase that by about $8,000 to $10,000 per new home. There's data that shows that for every $1,000 of cost that you add to a new home, you price out about 2,400 people from purchasing their home. And so we are still working very, very hard to strike a balance between finding efficiency in energy use in the state, but we also know the real dire issue that we have with housing and the need to get people housed, and we don't do that by making it less affordable. So just something to keep your eyes on over the next few weeks as we get ready to vote up or down on that energy code, as well as the rest of the state building code that we are considering. Going forward this week, again, have a special meeting with Mason Transit this afternoon. Our park hosts out at Trim and Glick, Bernie and Heather Games, are hosting a end of the season picnic. They do it every year for staff, and so I'll be popping into that. We have our Mason Grays Harbor jail kickoff, as the commissioners mentioned as well. Later this week, I'll be attending our first regional interlocal leadership structure meeting, and that's a lot of words to say. This is our new behavioral health meeting with the new managed care organizations that will be coming into our region to take over behavioral health care providing for folks in our Thurston Mason region. And so this is the forum in which we'll air our grievances between local government, mental health providers, as well as those managed care organizations. So be working through that this week. And then Friday I'll be participating with the Knights of Columbus in their Special Olympics Tootsie Roll Drive, benefit the Special Olympics athletes. And then, of course, as Commissioner Trask mentioned, this weekend is Oyster Fest. Friday night, Shelton Rotaries, Oyster Funk up at the port. So I encourage everybody to get out, have some great oysters, and see everybody in the community. So very much looking forward to that. And then back Monday, we have our budget workshops are kicking off. So it's budget season. So look forward to getting that kicked off on Monday as well. Okay, having reached the end of our agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned. Have a good day, everybody.